It's not necessarily wrong to rape people. It's just your opinion that it's wrong to rape people.
It's more that it's a moral judgment rather than an absolute truth.
All right, y'all, I want to set the stage for this video real quick. I am speaking to an atheist who was at a Christian conference that I was attending, and they were outside, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, sure, it's 2 degrees outside, but I would rather talk to this dude about Jesus. Literally 2 degrees, I'm not playing. But I'd rather talk to this dude about Jesus than be part of the conference. So went out, got to talk to this guy. This was my second year talking to this guy. We didn't video the first year, but we did video the second year. So hopefully this video is of benefit to you. Obviously didn't change his mind at the end of it, nor did I expect him to, but hopefully it just spoke something to him and something that we can pray for him. And so thanks, guys.
Sure.
So you got the thing about God killing 12,000 people.
No, just God ordering the death.
Right.
Not.
Correct. Yeah. So do you believe in absolute truth or no?
I do not.
You don't. So so would you say that rape is wrong?
Yes.
Is it absolutely wrong?
Define absolutely.
Is it wrong under every circumstance?
From my perspective, yes.
But you're saying that generally speaking, rape is not always wrong. So it's not necessarily wrong to rape people. It's just your opinion that it's wrong to rape people.
It's more that it's a moral judgment rather than an absolute truth of the universe.
But that's just your moral judgment. That's your opinion on moral judgment. If my moral opinion on judgment is if I see a 4-year-old girl that I can rape her, I'm not wrong. I'm just different than you.
No.
So it's absolutely wrong?
No, I would not say that. It is wrong in the collective moral sense.
So if 51% of people said that rape was okay to rape 4-year-old girls, it's okay then?
No, because simple majority is not sufficient to determine the direction of the culture.
So what determines whether it's wrong then?
It's more of an assessment of, for me anyway, an assessment of hurt and harm. To try to minimize the harm and maximize the well-being of everyone on the whole.
But what's like for instance, like Hitler thought that the well-being for the whole was to slaughter 7 million Jews. Was that a bad thing though?
Yes, because obviously for those millions of Jews and Roma, homosexual people with physical disabilities, death, imprisonment were all terrible things that degraded their quality of life.
But it was for the betterment. He thought it was for the betterment. So was it wrong, or was it just is it just your opinion that what he did was wrong, or was it absolutely wrong under all circumstances?
I would say that, well, in my opinion, it's wrong. Yes.
But there's no standard that says that that's not an okay thing to do.
No, not in the same sense of things like laws of gravity.
Okay, so
where do those absolute truths come from? For instance, it's daytime here in Kansas City, right? No matter what anyone said, it's not nighttime. That's an absolute truth. It's daytime, it's not nighttime, right?
In Kansas City.
Right, in this area right now, right? So that's an absolute truth. It's daytime, it's not nighttime, right? And those laws that govern nature, God also created to govern humanity. Although we in our humanity want to determine our own laws, there are laws that he established to govern us, and really the laws should be love. You know, what is the most loving thing to do?
Is it love to kill 12,000 people?
But from an atheist standpoint, what's wrong with killing 12,000 people?
Well, from a Christian perspective, what makes killing 12,000 people acceptable?
Okay, so in perspective of the context of the gospel and the history of humanity on the earth, okay, God in his righteousness and his love had to show us what it would be like if he didn't provide grace for us. How he would have to eradicate whoever was wicked and evil with a swipe of his hand to keep them from promoting evil in the world. Right, to show us. And then he said, now look, instead of doing that, I'm going to kill myself on the cross so that you don't have to be judged like that. Now you can come into salvation freely. So that today, we as Christians want to love the worst sinners like Jesus did, who laid his life down for their saving.
So like those 12,000 people had to be killed in order to illustrate the benefits of salvation?
What I'm saying is that those 12,000 people are still souls that are described in Scripture as being in a holding place like Sheol, that are still going to stand before God on Judgment Day and answer for their lives and their faith in Jesus as they see the unfolding of the millennial kingdom, things that are happening on the earth during our day and age. So their judgment of earthly destruction, which is very painful for us, more painful for God. It says that he was sorry. He was so sorrowful that he had made mankind and that he had to do what he had to do to show us how righteous he is, because if he hadn't, he said that the intentions of man's heart were wicked and evil continuously. So if you had barbarians running through this city, killing, murdering, raping, and killing, and stealing, would you be mad if someone military came and put them under wraps and punished them for their crimes?
So you're saying the men, women, and children were raping, pillaging, and killing people?
Well, okay, you're a Bart Ehrman fan, right?
Yeah, I do enjoy his books.
Okay, so like his whole basis, you know, he was of course a Christian, and then he ended up changing his mind on that, and his change of mind was all dependent upon the fact that he thought that it was cool for a God to let so much evil happen in the world. That's the foundations of why he left Christianity, and
the problem of evil, basically.
right, yeah, exactly, and which again he has no moral standard of what evil is, but either way, so like, you know, people always complain that God doesn't stop the evil in the world, and that how could a loving God let all this bad stuff happen? And like these people, they had an idol called Molech who'd hold his hands like this. They'd start a fire under it, and they would roast their own babies. They would literally light their own babies on fire and let them roast to death because they thought that was something pleasing to God. So when God actually finally says, hey, I'm going to stop the evil in the world, all of a sudden agnostics and atheists say, oh, God's immoral for doing the very thing that they call him immoral for not doing.
Well, why did the children need to die?
Well, because, you know, God knows the hearts of these people, and it's not like they had done it like they'd roasted one baby and said, oh, we're just going to kill everybody now. God was seeing that there was a generational pattern that these people, that they were all consistently murdering people. So he's saying, you know, I want to stop the evil in the world like all these atheists and agnostics keep telling me I'm supposed to do. He says I finally do it, and then you're calling him immoral again for doing so.
So you're saying that the children should be held accountable for the sins of their fathers, as far as that those children were destined to become as awful as the people that preceded them.
Well, do you agree that God, if God existed, that he would know more than you and I?
By the Christian definition of God, yes.
Sure, well, then I would say that God would know whether they were going to grow up to do the same things, like generation after generation after generation. There's actually a lot less evidence statistically that the children would not grow up to do just as their parents did, considering all of the kids grew up to do just like their parents did. So God, knowing more than us, would probably know whether that was right or wrong or not.
There is a point where it's acceptable to kill children from the Christian perspective, is what you're saying.
I'm saying that God is the giver of life, so if he takes a life, is he murdering, or is he just taking the life that he gave in the first place?
Well, in this case, it's not God directly taking life. This is God sending people in to kill men, women, and children. So
right, God directing people to take the life that he gave them in the first place.
So you're saying that there is a point at which it's acceptable for someone else to kill a child from a Christian perspective?
Sure, because God says that he can judge the world in righteousness, and if God's going to, I mean, if you want to take that, then take, you know, I'll one up you on that he's going to take the majority, at least 51% of the world, and he's going to send them all to eternal damnation. That seems, I mean, that doesn't seem, that's definitely way, 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 way harsher of God to do than just to kill a kid.
Sure.
Right? I mean, it would be way harsher to send 51% of people to eternity, to eternal damnation, but he's going to do that as well because just like we want rapists today, we want them to go to prison for the crimes that they do. He's going to do the same thing to liars and thieves and adulterers and blasphemers and people who hate one another. He's going to do the same thing to those kinds of people as well.
Yeah, from my perspective, then, that's hard to accept that as a loving God. You know, it's a God who gives life to children and then sends people in to kill those children.
Well, if I saw a girl on the side of the road and I said, hey, she's really cute, I want her to be my girlfriend, and I walked up to her and said, hey, you want to date? And she said no, and I locked her up and put her in my car and said, you know, handcuffed her to my pole in my basement and said, you love me, right? Of course she doesn't love me, right? Well, in the same way, a loving God is going to say, I'm not going to force you to be with me for eternity. I'm not going to force you to be with me for now. I'm going to give you the choice to separate yourself from me if you want to. And God's given us all that choice.
In this case, though, the more accurate or more parallel example would be that you ask this girl to love you, she says no, so you hire somebody to go and kill her because she has chosen not to love you.
Well, no, that's kind of a straw man as well, because again, God, knowing more than us, would know whether the kids were going to grow up to do the exact same thing their parents were doing.
Right.
So God is saying, you know,
so
what would you say
what's
that?
the likelihood that her children are going to love you?
Are you comfortable with the death sentence?
I'm not.
So you don't think that we should like kill people for killing people?
I distrust our justice system. I don't think it's sufficient enough to be able to always accurately convict people for the crimes that they have allegedly committed.
If we could be on a shadow of a doubt and know they murdered somebody, would you be okay with it?
Like Hitler, you don't think he should have been punished for what he did?
No, there's a difference between not being okay with the death penalty in our current justice system and not being okay with punishment. That's two different separate things.
I'm just asking in general, do you think that somebody like Hitler, do you think that he should be punished by death for slaughtering 11 million people?
I'm going to cut up and then I'll leave it 2 seconds. Who hurt you? Somebody hurt you. That's why you have a veil over your eyes and you're crying out for help to all of us. We're all here praying for you and whatnot. So look, the veil will be removed off your eyes, and let me tell you what, whoever hurt you, it's gone. That's the past. When you're a new creation, that shit is gone. Shit is gone. So now I will let them be kind Christians, because I'm just being blunt with you. You ain't no atheist. You're just whining.
Okay, so real quick,
what happened here, right? We could do the same to you Christians. We could be like, you guys all have an emotional issue. You need God in order to get through your life, and be real condescending to all of you about that. But we're not. We're just trying to have good conversations, and that kind of shit we're not going to do to you.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that was a Christian.
That's fine. Please don't let that fly with me.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't.
If that, for that being hurtful. Can I shift the perspective a little bit? Sure. Okay, so the issue is not the problem is not God's lack of justice. The problem is humanity's evil. Okay, if humans were not evil, then God would not have to punish us for doing evil, right? So that's where the source of the problem is. Now, if humans are completely depraved and evil, then God punishes us because He needs to show us what we shouldn't do. Like we would discipline a child who is continuously doing evil to show them the path that they should walk in. And if they continue down that path, we warn them, hey, if that happens, and you keep doing that, you're going to destroy yourself. You're going to end up in destruction, right? It's not our fault that they end up in destruction. They've chosen that path, right? But we would, as a parent, at the same time, do